Okay, so in this video, what we are going to look at is the application of the gradients over top of this thing. So in order to do that, I just want to show you some gradients that I already have kind of pre-made for this. One is this, and that's, so we're just going to duplicate this out to show you the two different gradients we're going to be working with. So these are the basic gradients we're working with. So it's taking this darker shape that's here and one of the lighter ones, and we're able to manipulate it. So if we look at the gradient itself, you can see it's just a dark color and a lighter color. I have it pretty even in the middle, and we can edit it. It's the same thing here, right? We have just the black, and we're going to a gray, and we're going to apply that across to the windows. I'm going to show you a neat way to kind of apply that, right? So those are the two gradients we're looking at. So first I'm going to select this. I'm going to apply that gradient, and something that you'll notice is it applies it to everything. Now, if you want this to look like holes and maybe not windows, this is a great way to kind of really explore this. You could say, all right, well, let's adjust this a little bit. You know, do we want something like that? Now, all of a sudden, there's a little bit more depth that's there. So you could really kind of explore that. But if you wanted it to go all the way across, once you apply it, if you get the gradient tool, right, G on the keyboard, and you can see I can just click and drag, and it's going to apply it across everything. And then the next thing is go to transparency and go to multiply. And you can see now we have a gradation of color working across. Okay, so you can apply a gradient in two ways to this. One, I could simply just grab this, and in fact, I want the gradient to work the other way, so I'm going to work with the gradient tool. Actually go this way and go like this. And I'm just dragging across that gradient, and you can see I have that gradient. Wonderful. Let's back that up for a second. If you wanted to apply it another way, so I'm going to duplicate this out. I'm going to get that gradient, and in fact, we're going to change it. So it's going the other way, like this. And I'm going to place this right back over top. And then I'm going to go to transparency and multiply. So you can see you can have two different kind of effects that way. Depends on what you want to do. And in fact, with this gradient here, if we went to the gradient, I'm actually going to change this one to opacity 0. So it fades completely out. Right? So in that case, what I might want to do is change this color to be lighter, so that then when this goes over top. There we go. Right? Two different ways of doing it. The advantage is I could edit this. This has two layers. It's a little bit more bulky, but also you may have more control over it because you can really adjust the opacity of this sitting over top. Like if I now wanted to make that more intense, I can do that real easily. So it depends on what kind of level of that you want to have, right? You can apply the same thing kind of going over top here as I did with some of these other things that are here. You can see this has this gradient over here. And so what the gradients are doing is really kind of separating out some of this. If you say, no, I want a smoother look, that's completely fine, right? So let's take a look at how to apply a gradient to these shapes that are over here. So I have this. I'm going to separate this out, and I'm going to, what do I want to grab? I want to grab from the swatches. I'm going to grab this gradient to start. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say, you know what? This should be a little bit, what do I want to do? I actually want to switch locations of this. All right, so we're just going to move that around. And I actually want this to fade out to 0, so we're going to change the opacity of that. Grab the gradient tool, and here's my trick, is we're actually going to start with this further out, so I can really kind of adjust how that gradient moves inwards a little bit more. Make sure that locks in over top. Change this to multiply, and there we go. Or and I could do the same thing on the other side, or if you decide, you know what, I really think it should come from the other direction. Cool, let's do that. Right now I have full control over kind of how that works. So I like the idea of having these kind of fit over top. but that's up to you. So ways that we can add gradations and other things into our isometric design.